Intel HEX is a file format that conveys binary information in ASCII text form. It is commonly used for programming microcontrollers, EPROMs, and other types of programmable logic devices. In a typical application, a compiler or assembler converts a program's source code to machine code and outputs it into a HEX file. The HEX file is then imported by a programmer to burn the machine code into a ROM, or is transferred to the target system for loading and execution. Format: Intel HEX consists of lines of ASCII text that are separated by line feed or carriage return characters or both. Each text line contains hexadecimal characters that encode multiple binary numbers. The binary numbers may represent data, memory addresses, or other values, depending on their position in the line and the type and length of the line. Each text line is called a record. Record structure: a record consists of 6 fields that appear in order from left to right. Start code, 1 character, an ASCII ::. Byte count, 2 hex digits, indicating the number of bytes in the data field. The maximum byte count is 255. 16 and 32 are commonly used byte counts. Address, 4 hex digits, representing the 16-bit beginning memory address offset of the data. The physical address of the data is computed by adding this offset to a previously established base address, thus allowing memory addressing beyond the 64 kilobyte limit of 16-bit addresses. The base address, which defaults to 0, can be changed by various types of records. Base addresses and address offsets are always expressed as big-endian values. Record type, 2 hex digits, 00205, defining the meaning of the data field. Data, a sequence of n bytes of data, represented by 2 n hex digits. Some records omit this field. The meaning and interpretation of data bytes depends on the application. Checksum, 2 hex digits, a computed value that can be used to verify the record has no errors. Color legend, as a visual aid, the fields of Intel HEX records are colored throughout this article as follows: A start code, A byte count, A address, A record type, A data, A checksum. Checksum calculation: the checksum value is the 2's complement of the least significant byte of the sum of all decoded byte values in the record that precede the checksum. It is computed by summing the decoded byte values, extracting the LSB of the sum, and calculating the 2's complement of the LSB. For example, in the case of the record 0300300023337A1E, the sum of the decoded byte values is 03 plus 00 plus 30 plus 00 plus 02 plus 33 plus 7 areas equals E2. The 2's complement of E2 is 1E, which is the checksum appearing at the end of the record. The validity of a record can be checked by computing its checksum and verifying that the computed checksum equals the checksum appearing in the record. An error is indicated if the checksums differ. Text line terminators: Intel HEX records are separated by one or more ASCII line termination characters so that each record appears alone on a text line. This enhances legibility by visually delimiting the records, and it also provides padding between records that can be used to improve machine parsing efficiency. Programs that create HEX records typically use line termination characters that conform to the conventions of their operating systems. For example, Linux programs use a single LF character to terminate lines, whereas Windows programs use a CR followed by a LF. Record types: Intel HEX has 6 standard record types, named formats. Special names are sometimes used to denote the formats of HEX files that employ specific subsets of record types. For example, I8 HEX files use only record types 00 and 01, I16 HEX files use only record types 00 through 03, I32 HEX files use only record types 00, 01, 04, and 05. File example: this example shows a file that has 4 data records followed by an end-of-file record. 1001000021460136001360007EFE09D21901040, 10011000214600117E20001FF5F160021480111928, 10012000194. E792346239657782339 EDA3F01B2CAA7, 100130003F0156702B5 E712B722B7321460134241C7, 0000001FF. See also, Articles, Binary to Text Encoding, a survey and comparison of encoding algorithms, ASCII, HEX file format by Motorola, TechHEX, HEX file format by Tektronix, other, template, Intel HEX, useful for displaying Intel HEX records and Wikipedia articles, references. Further reading, Hexadecimal Object File Format Specification, Revision A. Intel. 11 pages. 1988. External links, documentation, Intel HEX format description, Intel HEX reference with examples, software, Intel HEX to bin, Intel HEX to binary converter with C source code, Binex, a converter between Intel HEX and binary, libgi, open source library that converts Intel HEX and other formats.